Romain, what was it like to have Nico back on board?
Yeah, it was, we have quite a special relationship with Nico. He was my first leader back in the days in 2012 in AG Tour. Yeah, and he was really the guy who really, gave me the will to become a leader myself. Because, back in that day it was quite a different story in cycling. You really have to earn yourself a spot in the pro cycling world, even inside the team. It wasn't really hard. It was, quite hard. We raced against ourselves, during training camp, and you really have to gain the respect from the older guy in the team. But Nico was here keen to help me and to also to develop, and so we always said, because we kept a really close relationship over the years, even if we moved to different teams, and he was really the kind of friend that I can really rely on, and also ask about general question about cycling and how you can see myself also growing, and so it was super nice to spend also the last year of his career under the same jersey, and we had the chance to race. So the Giro was quite important for me last year. So for sure I will have been keen to spend more years on the bike, but I'm pretty sure there will be also many more moments outside the bike to come.
Definitely. I mean, just a quick one about that relationship. What I want to know is, what was he like as a roommate? What was he? Is he easy to get on with? Is he weird? Or what kind of vibe? Because you're rooming together for weeks. I know it's slightly different a couple of years ago with COVID, but roommates are. It can be fantastic, can be pretty bad, can't it?
We shared a room once. It was awful.
It was strange.
It was awful. It got weird.
That's a complete other kind of stage presentation itself. Let's park that for a sec.
Sorry.
So, what's he like as a roommate?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I remember I've read something, an Adam quote on the press few years ago. As you said, you was broad a bit about professional cycling. You get to room with someone you almost didn't know, and someone who was 18 was absolutely, completely the opposite center of interest, and so that's one of the maybe bad side of our lifestyle, but so what's super nice with Nico this year is always, the only guys I can drink red wine with, and you also, we all know we have a pretty young team in Team DSM, and it's also quite a different mindset now in cycling with the young guys. So focus on every detail of performance, but they also sometimes a bit just forgot to live their life, and so it was a bit our inside world, inside of the race with Nico. We can really talk about many other things, but no, not of cycling. But so it was really enjoyable to make a room. They're over 30 years old.
Fantastic, Adam. Your career overlapped obviously with these guys. What was your impression of racing with Nico and with Romain? From your perspective, you're a different style of rider, as we know.
Yeah. So I don't actually think I ever did a race with Romain, ever.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but I've done ones with Nico before, but I don't think I've ever done a race with you. Maybe one or two, but I can't really remember it, which is surprising. You spend
Massively,
9 years, and
I should have done a bit more research,
racing,
shouldn't I?
But yeah, definitely.
A bit awkward.
But no, racing with Nico is always a pleasure, and I think there's, as I'm sure it is with Romain as well. You speak about the older generation, the generation that you guys have been through, and there's a lot more respect in the peloton when these guys are moving up. There's a sort of an older guard that if these guys are there, you don't let them pass, but you give them a bit more space. They're polite to each other, and I think with Nico especially, he really was kind to people in the peloton. And I think now when you look back or looking at racing now, that kindness is almost gone. There's a respect there, but there's also a lot of tension within the peloton.
It looks quite cutthroat.
Yeah, no one really gives an inch anymore. There's not really any particular race where it's going to be less stressful. Every race is stressful, start to finish, and it is just you fight to be at the front constantly. There's no higher guard really anymore. And I think that was one nice thing really. I can't remember racing with Romain, but with Nico there was just a respect for not just the older generation, but from the young guys right the way up to the top. It wasn't just a certain amount of riders, it was for everyone. So to ride with him and just be respected as the highest of Cancellara was, right down to the bottom of myself, he was exactly the same, which was lovely.
That's fantastic. I mean, you touched on the changes in the dynamics of the peloton, the hierarchy, that there's no real patron like there used to be when I was riding but like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But things have changed seemingly at such a rapid pace, especially over the last 5 years, Nico. So what's the biggest change and the biggest shift in terms of power dynamics in the peloton over your career to your last year now? Because it's visibly different, isn't it? It just feels like there's more energy, more tension, as Adam has just alluded to.
I 100% agree with what Adam said. I think, the last couple of years, every race is raced like it's the last race ever. And I think that's, you were saying about a big change in the last 5 years. I would say the big change is since we're back from COVID. So when the season started back last August, we didn't know when the next race was going to be, and if that race actually went till the end of the race. Every stage of the Dauphiné was like, maybe tomorrow is the last day of the Dauphiné, maybe, and then you went to whatever, the Tour, and the same. We didn't know if we were going to make the first race day of the Tour. And so we basically had a month to save a season. Every team, every rider, the ones who are out of contract, the ones who are looking for a contract for next year, whatever, but you just sponsors. And every day was raced like, maybe the season's over tomorrow. And that kind of continued on this year. And when you're commentating on TV or as a spectator, you must have seen how cycling's gone pretty cool again, where it's just, there's no structure in the race anymore. You just have to be ready every single moment. Someone can launch an attack 50, 80K to go. Before in the briefing was quite easy. You put like a cross and you'd be 99% sure this is where the break is going to go, this is where the GC guys are going to head off, and this is where the gruppetto is going to happen. And you could just write it down in the morning. You had the legs, you were in the front, you didn't have the legs, that was it. Today, you're just open to everything. The break, the crosswinds could go after 5K and it lasts for 150K with 10 seconds gap, and eventually they catch it, don't catch it. It's just, like, it's great. As a cycling fan, today is great, but as a cyclist, racing is just...
I would hate to have Wout van Aert in the peloton. It would just be a pain in the arse. It would be, though. I think that's the difference as well within cycling. I don't know if you guys agree that I think back in the day you'd really have your climbers, your sprinters, but now everyone can do everything. Yeah. There's not just one thing that anyone's good at
Far
anymore.
more versatility, isn't there?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think that really throws a spanner into the works in terms of a Grand Tour. Say if Wout van Aert went up the road, it's not like a random guy going up the road that can sprint, a sprinter. He can time trial, he can climb, he can do everything. So it changes completely the way I think if he gets in a break, other riders are going, oh, if he's going in, then yeah, I should probably try and go in as well. And it sort of then
like
completely changes the whole dynamic of that stage, which is bloody awful.
Yeah. I mean, from your perspective, Romain, what's your take on it? Because we know, I mean, we've seen a significant shift in the way that you race since you've been riding for DSM. I think that's accepted. You seem to be riding with a lot more freedom, but also within that, within the new chaos within the peloton, there are opportunities that present themselves, and that's what DSM seem to be able to do. They're through all this maelstrom of chaos, there's a strategy there, but it's a very unorthodox, romantic strategy. And you clearly thrive in that sort of environment.
Yeah, true. I think, it's quite a paradoxal thing because we have, maybe more plan, more structure about how we approach the race, how we try to have an impact of the race, but we just don't try to focus on what we can control. And during our train at this stage of the race, taking one side, protect this side, and trying to launch an attack or doing something. But we just try to don't get really disturbed by the elements, because as Nico said, a lot can happen at any moment during the race. So it's just impossible to think about all the possible scenario can happen during a race, but just try to focus on our proper way of racing and then just to give our best. But for sure, I like cycling these days because it's much more entertaining with guys like Mathieu and Pitcock, Van Aert, their guys are, they don't care. They just go and they just see what happened.
Are you aware that what you're doing, because sport has so many different threads to it. People are here because we want to hear what you guys have got to say, but also sport is entertainment. And what you are doing, you're putting on a show as well. Are you aware of that? Or where is your mind when you're racing, when you're attacking early in the Giro? What DSM did in the Giro d'Italia this year, was mind-blowing, really. But it was also thrilling. It was entertaining. You wanted to watch the race. Generally, people tune in with an hour to go. Most days, people are tuning in now because we've got flag to line very, very early to watch the race unfold. So, are you aware of wanting to entertain as well? I'll ask that question to both of you.
I don't think it's the main or the first focus. It's just like we are all already competitors and we all want to try to make an impact of the race. And it's not really funny when you have to spend 200K on the peloton just following the leaders. It's always much better to try to have a plan and to try to make the race yours, you know. So we always try to do it, and but what I really appreciate last year, we didn't really care about what and our competitors have, you know. We just focus on what we can do, and we plan to attack on that climb, even if it's still 4 or 5 teammates of the opposite team left. We just go and we see, you know. And because when you start to think too much about everything in a race, you are just not good enough to make an impact.
It's a really good point, because when you deploy tactics like that, one thing that you have to be aware of and mindful of is there's no sadness or failure is important, but there's to not fail or to have that in your mind that it doesn't matter if you fail or not. I mean, that must be really important as well.
Yeah, totally.
Well, fear of failure is what I was badly trying to say.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, for example, when I was a GC rider, I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I was not as aggressive as I should have been, because at those moments, it was so important to be top 10 in GC, because at 11th, you had 0 points when it was about teams going up and teams going down. I remember AG Tour, I was like, I needed to be top 10, and I could not take a risk. And my level was between 8th and 12th. And I couldn't take the risk to try and maybe go and win a stage, because if I could lose my top 10 if that went wrong. I just wanted to give a kudos to Romain, because that day in the Giro when we decided to go all in, that was Romain's call. He was like, I have nothing else to lose today.
Was that on the road? Was that a call on the road or in the team meeting before?
It was talked in the morning.
Did he say, I have nothing else to do today?
No, to lose.
I was like, whoa.
To lose, that's it. Nothing to lose.
You know, it was like, you know, the goal.
Sure,
the goal was clearly to go into top 5, and Romain was 6th or 7th with the time trial, was playing against it with Almeida, doing a super third week. And in the morning, he took his responsibilities as a team leader, and he says, we're just going to go all in. We went earlier than we were supposed to go on the second last climb, and with the weather kind of changing, the rain, Romain wanted to make the most of his capacity of going like a lunatic when it rains downhill. And so we were like, all right, let's go one climb early. It gives you 2 descents instead of 1. Yeah. So then the show was on, and like you said, I think when I look back at the resume of the race, it was fantastic. To go back with the DSM strategy, it's a very, very cheeky call, but last year in the Tour it worked, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And for example, this year it didn't quite work for a long time. They had a very, very poor Tour de France.
The first part of the season was very quiet, respectful as well, wasn't it?
Very quiet, yeah. And then suddenly, after all these tries, eventually Storr gets 1, gets 2, Romain gets 1, and it's like, all right, the season is saved. But it's a very, very risky one, but it's a challenging one as well, because when you don't have a rider that's physically capable of dominating this kind of 5, 6, the top 5, whatever you call them, I forgot the names you journalists give them, the Great 5, no, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Lions and
something like
Safari stuff. But the thing is, there's a moment where if you can't beat them in the sprint and a time trial and an uphill finish, you got to find a strategy.
You got to outthink them or surprise them.
Or you just wait, and like Romain was saying, you're in the bunch, and it's just about getting dropped when you reach your last bit of energy. And if you're 5th, you're 6th, you're 8th, you're 10th, or you're 50th, but you're not going to win bike races. So it's a cheeky call, but it's worked. And when you get the win, you know it's a big one.
I mean, from our perspective as commentators, to see the tactics that DSM have employed over the last couple of years, what enables us to do, and one of the joys of our job, is to try and get across what you've just said, to try and deconstruct the race, and it makes the whole proposition so much more exciting and interesting and intriguing. And once you have those kind of things playing out on the road, it becomes unpredictable. Our job becomes a lot more fun, and therefore people are entertained. It's a pleasure, isn't it, to call it? Because we really don't know what's going to go on. Like you said earlier on, traditionally there's a structure to race. You pretty much know what's going to happen, but now we don't.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of bike racing. I think for you guys, have you found it difficult sort of changing the way, it's not changing the way you race, but changing to the style of racing or not? Because it has changed since Sky came along. It started to get consistently faster. The watts were always higher, but now I feel like it's getting that again, but with a lot more accelerations, a lot more faster guys that can climb quick, descend quick, they can do everything well. Is it hard to adjust to or not? To race with the likes of Wout van Aert, Van der Poel, Pidcock, these guys, knowing that they can do everything.
Yeah, sure. And you're right. When you seen the guy last season, for instance, Kerbally, what he did, I think he came second in Teen Tour de France, and then able to win bunch sprint. So you need to, for sure. You are not. You can't say if I go on the finish with this guy, I will beat them. You have to find a way to drop them before the finish. But I think it's really for the good of the sport. The scenario I've seen in the European, the World Championship this year, the World are always on the TV from kilometer zero.
It's insane, wasn't it? It looked incredible, but it's just so exciting to watch. It must be like tough to be a part of, to race, because normally you just traditionally would race the last 50k, 60k. So, but now, I mean, we'd never seen anything quite like that had with the World Championships. Yeah,
it was really nice to watch. And when you seen guys like Costner and Evenepoel, going away with 180k to go, you said, maybe it's a good move. And but it makes really, I've seen the guy talk about it like it was maybe the hardest race they ever ran. And so, but I think it's hard. It's hard for the harder one than like us, but it's good to watch.
Have you also changed the way you train quite significantly in the last 5 years, or not really?
That's a good topic.
Yeah.
Because we basically spend the whole year Nico, challenging it with Nico. Because we are in the team. That really suits me well. But we now there is no room for no really room now in training. It's getting really more and more structure in training, and so it's really far away from what I went through during my first year, where I can really do fartlek every training, just going with some mate and trying to drop them on every climb. Now you have really to be more. Sometimes it can be being a bit boring, but when you spend so much time on the bike over the year, it's really, for me, it really can make a difference if you can monitor it a bit better than your competitors.
And Nico, you're laughing then. Is that something that you actually struggle to adapt with a little bit then? Because and DSM, as we all know, it's well documented. It's a really, each World Tour team, each Pro Conti team has its own identity, its own culture, its own way of doing things. Without blowing the lid off too much, because there's some things that you want to keep close to your chest. I understand that, but I mean, clearly it was a challenge to a degree, adapting to the way the team worked in terms of training.
I've had a new coach this year, and it's been a challenge to adapt to my new coach. That's why Romain was laughing, because many of our topics in the bed was about, when we were rooming together in training camps, it was about me adapting to this new polarized training. And, everyone usually talks about Valverde, whatever, making it to 41 and whatever, but one thing that's really important to know is that he's very professional with his training, but if you follow him on Strava, because a lot of his Strava is open, you realize that he trained most like I did or Romain did for many, many years, and this is what's keeping him going, what these new trainers don't understand is when I've done one training for 16 years, and bloody hard training, you know, when you do your 20 minutes threshold 3 times with your spikes, whatever. So, you know, I've been through Sky and BMC and Saxo Bank with Bjorn Rees, so I can tell you about hard trainings. But now it's about, you know, for example, with the team, he was like doing 7 hours or 3 hours, 3 hours, 7 hours. It's like, no, I prefer to do 3 times 5. But for a team today, it's like, no, 3 times 5 is useless. Because you need 7 hours at 20K an hour to burn your fat, and then you need 2 days at 3.5 hours doing your 1 day full power, and the other day doing kind of more below zone 2 work. So every day is specific to one thing, where before, you know, you go out and you do your 3 times 20 minutes threshold, and then on the way back you do 3 or 4 sprints to the signpost with your mates, and you'd keep the pace in between your efforts. Where now the problem is everything is monitored to the point where on your cruising day, if you ride 10 watts more, you're not in that fat burning zone, you're in this burning zone, but you create this and that, which will, and then you just get emails that are that long.
I'm blowing.
And I can't go too much in detail, so else they won't pay me in December. But
Way too much, isn't it?
Man, like, you know, you have to do a screenshot of your bloody training program in the morning, and that takes a lot out of the fun.
Just writing it down
really,
on your stem.
It's interesting though, isn't it? It really is. But can you, Roman, explain how you've coped with that? Because it's a different environment for you. But you're smiling again here. But
He's got 2 garments or 2 wahoos.
So okay, how have you adapted?
No, yeah. For me, it really helps me because I was the kind of guy who was always doing too much, too hard, too much for too long. So I was just basically burning myself, you know, while training. So at some point of the year, it was maybe a good thing. But yeah, to last really long during the season and be consistent was not really a good thing. But yeah, it took me some time as well to get the benefits of doing a 5 or 6 hour ride at 200 watts, because I came back to the hotel, I was feeling okay, you know, so I didn't really get the point of this training. It was like, okay, I can push hard on this climb and drop every run, but I'm not allowed to now, so.
I think that's it though, isn't it? It almost takes the fun out of riding your bike, and that's why we all started riding our bikes, and
Totally,
why we all still do. And I think there's a limit between what teams have to remember is that we're still doing it for the love of it. You still have to enjoy it. You take that away from it, and you're going to have someone that mentally doesn't want to go training because they know it's going to be dull, they know it's going to be boring. Then you come to a race, you're doing this training you hate, you're not going as well as you think you should be, and then it's just like a minefield of what was the original thing we all started doing this for, and it's just the fun aspect of it. And I think within cycling, especially modern cycling, it is, I don't know if you guys agree, but it's almost not looked upon. No one really looks at the fun aspect of riding your bikes anymore.
I totally agree with you, and it's a very alarming point, actually, because today cycling is becoming 100% a business. And it's about making as much money as you can in a short period of time. When I've talked to some other guys saying, if I made it to my age doing all these races, it's because there was always an element of fun. And today you see guys who are 2 years, 3 years pro, winning stages in the Tour de France, but they have a breakdown, like Lenny Kebna, for example, winning stages in Tour de France. Dauphiné this year was out of the season with a breakdown, and this should not happen. But today, when I say that to the teams, they say, yeah, but who wants to do 17 years? By the age of 25, they're richer than you when you were 37. So it's about knowing what you want. I would have had a long career, and I opted for a long career. But the teams are like, yeah, but we don't care if they're done by 30 because it's about business, you know, and this is the way sport is changing. In my opinion, is not always the right way to look at it, but that's the reality, though.
It's a really interesting one because we're talking about these young riders coming through and their ability to perform at the age of 19, 20, 21. It used to be that the juniors would move to under 23, then World Tour. Now we're seeing more and more season on season going from junior to World Tour. But what we haven't seen yet, because this is a relatively new phenomenon, is how long these guys are going to be able to ride for in their careers. Are we going to see guys burning out, and women as well, burning out earlier? That's yet to unfold, isn't it? So what's your take on that? Because you're in this team with a clearly different take on things, successful. We've seen riders come and go from DSM as well. We know that. It's no secret. For some riders, it's not the right thing. For others, it is. What's your take on exactly what Nico was talking about, Romain?
Yeah. I'm afraid, that will for sure, unfortunately, guys will burn themselves along the way because they are, now manager and the people involved in cycling business, like Nico said, really think that, we can really look for 18 years old guy and really bring them to the top. We'll make them living 100% of the cycling for days and night, and we'll make them champions. But for sure, if you have guys like Evenepoel between your hands, it will work out. But I think I'm afraid for many of them, it will just be too much, or maybe they just need more time. That's also more things outside of cycling, because to grow as a man, it's not the same thing as growing as a cyclist pro. So I'm really afraid with the situation, how it will be in 10 years, and many guys who drop the school at 18 just to turn pro and make it alive and also to in their personal development. For sure, we will maybe year after year we will see winners will be always younger and younger, but for the mass and the overall of them, I think there will be some breakdown.
On that, and I'll ask you as well in a second, Adam, as well, because I think what, Nico, somebody comes to you with €20 million budget, you're the boss of the team, what's your ideology?
Well, the thing is, to be competitive, unfortunately, I would have to adapt to what's going on now. So I would also have to invest in 18-year-olds. Although, to be honest, now they're all thinking they're afraid to miss out on the next one. But I believe, Remco and Pogacar, they're going to be there for another while. So might as well look at 12-year-olds, give them another 5-6 years behind the road. It's too late looking at 18-year-olds. But no, joke aside, I think today the teams want to have control on absolutely everything. I was one of the collateral damages of that system, where experienced riders are not useful anymore because experience also contradicts sometimes ideology of the team or a strategy of a team, because you've seen it, you've done it, you know it, but you're doing it wrong. But if it's the idea, you need to follow a plan. And today is about following a plan. And especially with DSM, for example, like Romain said, it's about having a plan, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But the thing is, you also have to think, when you're a rider, when it doesn't work, it's crap. Because you're losing a day's race. You're losing an opportunity. You're maybe losing one win in your career, or an important moment for you if you're on a great day, when you're not racing for a victory, when you're racing just to follow a protocol. So there's pros and cons to that. So I would stick to a road captain because I think it's important, but I will also, like the business ones, admit that I would also need to invest in a younger riders to try and keep them developing. I think, we've seen teams giving riders longer contracts, where before they were taking them young, and after 2 years when they were done, and but now at least they're giving them the opportunity that if things go wrong 1 year, they still have a year or two behind them. So it's giving them a little bit of security. So it is kind of, it's bad, but it's growing back the other way as well, where it's not just we'll use you and throw you out if you're having any physical issues or anything. So it's kind of balancing. So I would go with young riders, a longer contract, a few older riders to have an overview of things. But I think obviously staff is quite important. You need staff that has experience and not just studies, which is, there's been a big change in cycling in everywhere, like even mechanics. There's a lot of new jobs in cycling. Back in the days you had one chef, now you have a chef, but the chef used to also do the nutrition. Where now, no, you have a nutritionist who guides a head chef, who guides the other chef. So you've already got 3 jobs and 3 chefs in the kitchen, if you want to talk about it. But that, and the same with training. You have one trainer, and then you have a general guy or general performance manager who looks after the trainers, So it's just, there's a lot of new jobs in cycling that you kind of have to specify in. So it's not as easy as saying, I have 20 million, what am I going to do with it? I think I will have to do what's happening at the moment to start with. And then maybe I'll try and get 2 or 3 years that 20 million to see how I can change it with the time.
I like it. That was a business plan, right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Adam.
Anybody got 20 million?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's talk afterwards. What's Team Blythe look like? Give us the lowdown on the vibe.
It'll be a blue kit probably to start with.
To start with?
Well, what I'm going to do is just buy Quick Step and then call it Faster Quick Step. And I'd just literally just copy that whole team because they're successful all year round and they don't have the biggest budget. And I think they are, if you're a young rider looking at a team that you want to join, I'd probably say that is the one. You learn a lot. You've got all the best riders there in the world and they race their bikes. They're not robots. They just race and love racing. And I think I don't know about you guys, but if you always look at that team, it's the one that's always having fun. You never see a rider that's down, and if they are down, the next day they're back up. You never see a problem within it. And I think that's, when you're at a bike race and you're with the teams, you can always see a little bit of tension within a team, or if there's something happening, people chat as well. But with Quick Step, you never hear of dramas, you never really hear of problems, apart from the one we saw about Cav throwing his bike at the mechanic.
Just Cav, wasn't it? Just Cav.
Yeah.
I mean, on that note, Romain, what to you then, based on what the guys have said, and also what the importance of accepting that teams are different. They're full of different people. They're from different backgrounds, different sponsorship objectives, therefore different ideologies, especially teams that have been around for 20, 30 years. FDJ, for example, Cofidis. Then you go to Movistar, which have been around since the 80s, so that they have a real culture around them. So for you, and you've only been in a couple of teams, what's the most important strand element of DNA within a team that makes it successful to you? What does a team need to be successful and also to be happy? Because it's the balance, like you say, it's a real delicate balance, and nothing's going to be 100% right, but what for you would be the perfect recipe?
Yeah, I think, for me the key is the success. So just have to look at the successful team, and try to figure out what they do better than their competitor, but I think it's definitely the structure that is around the team, because you talk about FDJ, you talk about Cofidis, Editor, and Movistar as well. They all have to make a bit of a U-turn to really stick now to the new requirements of the professional team. And when you look at Ineos, and DSM, teams like that, they are pretty young in the business, but they are trying to do things right with a lot of structure, a lot of expert around the cycling area, and I think really at the end of the day, what makes riders happy and is the success, to get some wins and the general well-being and stuff on the team really relies on the success on the team, and it's not, I think, easy for teams like Movistar or Cofidis to make this turn, because it looks like quite a big family, and cycling teams are not run like they were 20 years ago. So for the staff and stuff, to the mechanics, to the soigneurs, it's another way of working to get, and in the end, for sure, what makes really the difference in the end, it's first the budget. Because when you can have much more expert than the other team, and you can really make a difference. So that's why Team Sky won the Tour de France after how many years in the cycling? 2, 3, 2. So that's it.
They've not won for a while though. Just saying.
It's always you're great, aren't you?
And I want to bring
you bring the colour, don't you? Nico, we're going to wrap things up in a couple of moments' time, but we've looked at the last couple of years. We've had a little look at your history, some of the big races that you've won. You sit there, we're clearly with a smile. You're happy, content in life. But what's next? What's next for you? Apart from maybe some wine later on this afternoon.
Well, that's an immediate future. But no, hopefully, I've really enjoyed my time with Eurosport and GCN over the years when I did bits and pieces for them. So I'm kind of pushing that door. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'd love to.
Watch out, blimey.
Yeah,
oh, God.
That's
oh, okay. That was awkward, wasn't it?
Right. Thanks for that, Nico. Yeah, we better go.
but hopefully I'll be doing a bit of stuff on TV next year. I've quite some projects, unfortunately, that I can't talk more about. That's coming out in January in Ireland. I should be announced in December, so it's a bit like in cycling with cut tracks and stuff like that, where you can't talk about it, but that'll be pretty exciting, and it's taking me way out of my comfort zone. So that's one of the hints. But I've bits and pieces. I'm opening a second bike shop in Ireland. I'll be moving to London now for a month as well. Most of November, been here working on developing the bike shop that I have here just down the road in Canary Wharf. So been busy and opening another gym in London with my best friend from school. So I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks now in London. I've 2 trips to France, but I'll be around for a bit developing these projects. And then what comes next year, I'll know more in about a month's time.
Fantastic stuff. And the last question for you, Romain. Okay, it's a bit of a weird one again. It is me, after all, sat here asking the questions. You get a big budget. Romain, we want the Grand Prix Romain Bardet. What does it look like? Where is it? How long is it? Where is it?
It's in your. I think we have a good guess for a team. I think it will definitely bring a bit more fun into cycling. Maybe a new gravel event. I mean, combine the next generation of cycling races. A good mix between gravel and road on the for sure in my area in Rouen. That could be nice. And
maybe finish up the Puy de Dôme perhaps.
Exactly nice. Exactly, finishing up the Puy de Dôme 4K at 10%. No, but I think there is we can all figure out there is quite a hype around the gravel racing, and but teams are still a bit afraid to really get into it. But it looks really fun and also entertaining, and I think we are all keen to see more of Strade Bianche the world season. So that's definitely a turn I think cycling has to do.
Fantastic. Well, last word from you, Adam. It's been lovely chatting to these two, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks and congratulations, Nico, on a fantastic career.
Yeah, a round of applause, please, for Adam Blythe, Nico Roche, and Mr. Romain Bardet.